Good evening, everyone. My name is Sara Zagdanski, and alongside with my dear friend Leonard Abramsky, I'm honored and privileged to serve as co-chair of UJA's 2020 annual campaign. At this time of social and physical distancing, we are so grateful that you have joined us virtually this evening to gather online for this very special event. There's strength in our numbers and comfort, meaning, and purpose in our unity, especially during this COVID-19 crisis. Over the past few days, just when it felt like the world couldn't take another crisis, we've been watching what's happening in the United States with great concern. It's a reminder that even amid a global pandemic, we cannot lose sight of the fight against racism and the importance of standing up when other communities are hurting, just as we hope and ask that they would stand up for us. We are living in surreal times, a time when all of us, no matter who we are and what we were doing only a few short months ago, are facing new and difficult challenges. But for those who have been hit the hardest by the health and economic impact of the pandemic, this crisis has been more than difficult. It's been dangerous. We think about the growing number of Jewish families who are struggling to put food on the table and keep a roof over their head. We think about the rising number of community members who are seeking help as they struggle with addictions and other painful personal crises. We think about the thousands of Jewish seniors who battled isolation before the pandemic and for whom a trip out of their apartment now poses dangers that were once unthinkable. We think about Jewish children and teenagers at risk of being cut off from essential Jewish identity building experiences because their parents are facing job losses and small business closures. As Jews, defined by our Jewish values of compassion and mutual responsibility, we know that in these countless quiet battles taking place in the lives of Jews throughout our city, the very future of our community is at stake. For many community members and institutions, the danger is existential. And that's why we're here tonight. The Toronto Jewish community is facing a defining moment. Time and again, we have come together to help Jews facing emergencies overseas. But never before have we confronted a crisis of this scale and urgency in our own community, right in our own backyard. Now is the time to rally and unite in response to this crisis, because we can only overcome this challenge together, and we need you. We also recognize that many of those in our community who are hurting may be joining us for tonight's event. Though we may not be able to see you, we know that you're there, and we are here for you. We encourage you to get in touch if we can help in any way, because we will only get through this if we take care of each other. And at the end of the presentation, there will be all of our contact information on a slide. So tonight we're going to be sharing insights into what's happening in our community, UJA's plan to build our community resilience, and how you can play a vital role. Before we do so, and before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to thank our sponsors for tonight. Our presenting sponsors, Deloitte, Fabricland, and Remax Realtron, and our launch sponsors, Aquacon, Foremost Financial, and Pear Tree. We deeply appreciate the willingness of our sponsors to stick with us during these challenging and unprecedented times, and we thank you so much for your generosity and support. Now I am pleased to introduce Barry Weiss. A native of Pittsburgh, op-ed editor and writer for the New York Times, and author of the book, How to Fight Anti-Semitism, Barry has quickly become one of the most insightful and inspiring Jewish leaders among the next generation. And I know that some of you will have had the pleasure to meet her when she spoke so brilliantly at UJA's 2019 campaign closing this past January. We are so pleased and grateful that she's joining us live from New York this evening. And with that introduction, I'll pass the call to Barry.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words, Barry. At this difficult time, your visionary message is more important than ever. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Muskat, and I am honored to serve as chair of UJA's Women's Philanthropy for the 2020 annual campaign, together with my vice chair, Carrie Kirschenblatt. While listening to Barry's eloquent observations on what makes a community in the true sense of the term, I couldn't help but think about all that we've seen take place here in Toronto during this pandemic. At a time when so many around the world turned inward, more than 2,000 members of our community raised their hands to volunteer or donate to UJA's COVID-19 relief efforts. At a time when every one of us had to rearrange our lives and protect our own health, these incredible individuals didn't hesitate to pack food boxes, order groceries for needy families, make phone calls to check in on community members and identify those who may be vulnerable. They did this all for people they had never met and likely never would meet, but to whom they felt a connection simply because they're fellow Jews. And we always take care of one another. The results of this outpouring of generosity have been nothing short of awe-inspiring. Together, we have delivered food and supplies to more than 2,500 vulnerable Jewish households and have made more than 20,000 wellness check-ins through our telephone tree. For those of you on this call who were a part of this extraordinary effort, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We've made great progress in meeting the immediate needs of many at risk in our city. But the needs are growing and there's so much more to do, which is why I'd like to now invite Adam Minsky, President and CEO of UJA Federation, to share insights on what's happening in our community, as well as UJA's vision for an emergency campaign for community resilience.
Thank you, Melissa. And good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us for a campaign launch unlike any other we've hosted. The reason for the exceptional nature of tonight's launch and why we've initiated an emergency campaign for community resilience is because our community is facing a crisis that we have never before encountered, and just a few months ago, we couldn't have imagined. We face two grave risks stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. First, that our community's agencies and resources will be overwhelmed by the needs of the Jewish vulnerable, and that we will see the most massive loss of participation in Jewish life in the history of our community. As Jews in financial crisis withdraw their children from our day schools, supplementary schools, camps, and JCCs. Left unaddressed, these two challenges would have a catastrophic impact. The community we know and love, one of the strongest Jewish communities in the diaspora, would never look the same. Here's what's happening right now in our community. With at least 44% of Canadian households affected by job loss or reduced working hours, we are seeing that Jewish Torontonians are facing the same harsh reality. Roughly half of all Jewish households in our city are suffering. The 1 in 8 Jews who struggled with poverty before the pandemic are now in even greater need. We can help them thanks to your support for the regular annual campaign, a significant portion of which is used to strengthen UJA's network of Jewish social service agencies. What we cannot manage with the existing resources are the surging needs of the newly vulnerable. Since the pandemic began, we've seen an 80% increase in requests for help from Jewish families in financial crisis, coupled with a very troubling spike in reports of domestic abuse. Food insecurity is on the rise in our community with a 30% increase in requests for kosher meals on wheels. Our seniors are particularly hard hit. Our agencies are reporting a 40% increase in requests from this very vulnerable segment of our population. Requests for addiction counseling are up by more than 85%, and there's been a dramatic increase in community members requesting interest-free loans. Perhaps most heartbreaking is that many of these loan requests are from community members with elderly parents who are taking out loans to pay for alternative care arrangements, no doubt fearful of the COVID-19 outbreaks at long-term care facilities. Overall, we estimate that 25,000 more community members will need the support of UJA's network of social service agencies. This will double the caseloads from 25,000 to 50,000 vulnerable Jews, an unprecedented level for our community. The next few months will be critical. There is no one program or agency that can meet this challenge alone, which is why UJA's wraparound approach is essential. UJA, together with our social service agencies, will ensure that newly vulnerable community members have easy access to all the services we support. For example, a family in crisis will have access to temporary food relief, financial assistance to pay for basic needs, an interest-free loan to get their small business up and running again, addiction and mental health counseling, job retraining, and other programs to get them back on their feet. While providing these community members with the support they need to return to self-sufficiency, so too must we provide temporary help to keep their children enrolled in essential Jewish experiences. UJA provides extensive tuition assistance to help families on modest incomes to be able to afford Jewish day school, supplementary school, summer camp, as well as JCC programming. We do so because one of the things that makes our community so exceptional is the fact that families of all income levels can access these experiences, which have a life-changing and lifelong impact on Jewish identity. That character of our community is very much in danger. We now estimate that those subsidy needs will grow on a short-term basis by roughly 50%. As a parent, I think about how hard this has been for my own children. I can't imagine the added mental health strain it would cause to a child to have to leave their day school and integrate with a whole new peer group because of the financial crisis. And like all kids, my children can't wait to return to normal life. When I think about the resumption of in-person programming at our JCCs and Jewish summer camps, I can't imagine the damage it would cause a child to see the world open up again, only to be told that their parents can no longer afford these experiences. And we know that once a child is removed from a Jewish program temporarily, it's not so easy to switch back into the system, and many simply won't return. This is why we're moving quickly to ensure that families impacted financially by the pandemic can access one-time grants and interest-free loans. This will also give our Jewish institutions the best possible chance of weathering this crisis by preventing a massive drop in enrollment. In the two areas I've described, social services and support to keep Jews connected to Jewish life, we project the needs of our community will grow by $25 million this year. While your gift to UJA strengthens our community in so many ways, our emergency campaign is about a vision for our community that is anchored in two very powerful ideas. That we will ensure that every Jew who needs the help of our community social service agencies will get the help they need, and that no Jewish child or teenager will be cut off from essential Jewish experiences because their parents are facing a temporary financial crisis. Those are the kind of big community-defining ideas that this campaign is about. And as we formally kick off our campaign tonight, our community faces two very different paths. The first one is the path of resilience. We come together as a community and rise to this challenge as one. Each of us gives what we can of our time and our funds, recognizing that every hour volunteered and every dollar donated will make a really big difference. We bring together all of our community's organizations to innovate and work together to strengthen our community. We provide families that would otherwise be on the brink of financial ruin with the help they need to get back on their feet quickly while keeping their children enrolled in the Jewish programs that matter to them. Our JCCs, day schools, and summer camps experience a renewal while remaining places where children and teens from across our entire community, regardless of income level, connect with each other and grow in their Jewish identities together. All that I've described presents the first path. I won't describe what the second path looks like, not only because I'm an optimist by nature, but because based on the incredible response of our community during the early days of this emergency campaign, including from many of you on this call, it's crystal clear that we are already coming together to overcome this crisis. The path I've described is one of renewal, not a return to the community we were before the pandemic. As Jews, it's in our DNA to not simply restore what was, but to reimagine what can be. This is very much what we're going to do in this emergency campaign. We'll be investing in organizations that are positioned for sustainability and success, the organizations that will take us into the future. Those that require consolidations, changes, or new business plans will have to adapt before we'll invest. And we're holding ourselves to the same standard, because when thousands of community members make a gift to UJA, we place a high premium on honoring that trust. This requires that we do everything we can to maximize the impact of your gift and deliver the best possible results. This begins with our professional staff being prepared to make personal sacrifices, starting with me all senior professionals at UJA have taken a voluntary pay cut. I've also made the painful but necessary decision 2 months ago to reduce the size of our staff by 25%. All UJA activities not about the essentials of Jewish life are being reprioritized with the resources redirected to this urgent challenge. And through our advocacy agent, the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, we are working with all 3 levels of government to optimize government assistance to UJA and its agencies. As we gather tonight on Zoom, it's heartbreaking to think that many others in our community have likely also been on their computers tonight, checking their status of an EI application, looking at overdue credit card statements, or looking for answers to mental health challenges that simply feel unbearable. Some of you on this call may be facing a similar situation. For those of you who are, let me say loud and clear, your pain is our pain, and you're the reason we're here this evening, determined to confront this crisis together. UJA and our entire community is here for you. If you need help, please call or email us, and we will do everything in our power to get you the help you need. And for those of you who are in a position to help, please join us and give whatever you can, because in this defining moment, our community is doing what Jews have done throughout history, demonstrating that what the world thinks is impossible is in fact possible. We're taking a crisis and turning it not only into recovery, but into an opportunity for renewal and for something even greater to emerge. Thank you all for joining us this evening. And I'd like to now invite Leonard Abramsky, co-chair of UJA's 2020 emergency campaign, to speak.
Sorry, I realized my mute was on. Thank you, Adam, for that insightful presentation. As Adam noted, in this emergency campaign, every gift matters. If you have never been involved with UJA in the past, we are so grateful that you are with us tonight, and we encourage you to join us as we work together to lead our community through this crisis. The needs of our community are projected to grow to $85 million this year due to the pandemic. That's roughly 25 million more than our regular campaign. This is why we're asking community members to consider 4 important requests. First, if you're in a position to do so, no matter what, if you can give, no matter the size of your gift, it's very important to do so. The success of this campaign is measured by both dollars raised and the number of community members who participate. In this time of crisis, there's something incredibly powerful about every member of our community who has the means to do so, to make a gift towards our collective resilience and send that message that we are really all in this together. Second, increased needs require an increase in donations, which is why we're asking that if you are in a position to increase your gift by any amount, this is very much the year to do so. Now, more than ever, every dollar counts. Third, by making your gift early this year, you will further strengthen our ability to respond to this crisis. The impact of this pandemic on our community is evolving rapidly. So too must our response to it. As we continue to map out and adjust our plans in the coming weeks and months, having a clear picture of anticipated pledges is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Keep in mind that your pledge for the 2020 emergency campaign can be paid anytime up until the end of 2021. And last, but certainly not least, in addition to a financial donation, you can make an impact by donating your time, including by engaging your friends and family to contribute. If you've ever thought about volunteering for our community, this is certainly the year to do so, and we would love to welcome you to the team. I'm really excited to share with you that we are already seeing promising momentum, and we have a number of community members who have told us they'd love to share their support for the emergency campaign with everyone this evening. I'd now like to call upon a few of them. First of all, I'd like to call upon Abe Glowinsky. Abe?
Thanks, Leonard. Hi, everyone. I've been involved with UJA as a volunteer in many different capacities over the past 25 years. I've held various lay positions over that time, but this is my very first emergency campaign. As many of you know, UJA is the only Jewish charity that supports so many different organizations and agencies, both local and abroad. It builds and strengthens Jewish identity and education. It promotes Jewish and Israel advocacy while creating an infrastructure throughout the GTA that not only serves the Jewish community, but the community at large. That is why it is one of my preferred charities and why I've always been a donor for so many years. But there are so many in our community right now that are so vulnerable and need our help during these difficult times. I was one of the first in the province of Ontario who contracted the coronavirus. I was patient 18. So I've been in isolation and working from home for longer than anyone else I know. During that time, I've noticed that my visa bills for the last couple of months have been lower than they've ever been in years. I don't know if some of you have noticed the same thing. We haven't been going out to eat. We're not shopping as we used to. We've canceled all of our upcoming travel trips. And in the last 3 months, I've only filled up my car with gas 3 times. While we recognize that our family's truly fortunate that we are in a position to give back, although our savings and RSPs have suffered along with the financial markets, we have suffered far less than others. So when I look at how much we've saved from our daily lifestyle, we are thankful that we are in a position to utilize some of those savings to increase our UJA gift this year and help out the community that we care about so deeply. I hope and pray that many of you can do the same. Thank you.
I'd like to call upon Bram Belzberg. Bram?
Sorry, can everyone hear me? Yep. Hi, everyone. First, let me just start with a quick note of thanks to Barry, who spoke so eloquently. It's so important to have strong, active, educated voices speaking on behalf of the Jewish community. And as Barry said, she was a camper at Ramah. I was a staff member when she was there, and it's such a small world that everything comes back together. And thank you for caring about the Toronto Jewish community and not moving away. Brody, Reed, Alana, and I have been involved in a number of causes over the years, but UJA is perhaps the most important of those. It's important because we need one central organization that helps fundraise, helps with brand awareness, does central planning for all of Toronto as one community, to act as the marketing and onboarding agent for volunteers and for donors to create efficiencies. They are amazingly effective, and they have very dedicated, wonderful, and hardworking professionals, from Adam and Sarah to every last person that I've interacted with. They're so special, and they just dedicate their lives in such a full way. We're proud to be able to help in any way we can. The amazingly successful Toronto Jewish community is not an accident. It takes very hard work, time, and dedication. Alana and I try not to take the sacrifice, hard work, and excellence of UJA for granted. If we don't help, then UJA won't exist. It is exactly because of things like the COVID Relief Fund that we're so proud to be a part of UJA. Participation is critical. Please, if you can, give and help. We have an obligation to support those that can't help themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bram. I'd now like to call upon Philip Ladovsky and Ruthie Ladovsky.
Audible now? Thank you. I'm so sorry about that. In this current confusion, I can't help but think of our grandparents' generation. More than a century ago, in a world of total uncertainty, they had the courage to immigrate a whole generation to Canada. And Instinctively, they understood their mutual responsibility to each other. They created Landsmannschaft and they created sick benefit societies. They created, with their initiative and their courage, the Toronto that Barry spoke of and that Bram spoke of, the Toronto that is the pride of Jewish communities looked upon, looked up to across the globe. They did it in their day, and I'm sure we can do it in ours. They had scant resources. We have a little bit more at hand. And we have, as Bram just said, the organization, the leadership. The UJA is providing us with the one thing we were looking for, the opportunity. And I say, here it is. Let's follow their leadership. Let's step up. Let's do it. We can.
We feel very honored to be part of this amazing community, one that is known and respected throughout North America for its commitment to our partner agencies and schools and to the well-being of all. I'm on Barry's compass. In the good old days, when Jewish federations of North America would meet and hand out actual printed programs, one brochure cover resonated with me. On the cover was a large heart, and surrounding it were these words: many people, many roads, one heart. Today, more than ever, UJA is the one heart at the center of this community. We're happy to continue our support in addition to contributing to this emergency campaign. Kol hakavod, UJA.
Thank you very much, Philip, and thank you, Ruthie. And please keep that pea soup flowing. It fuels all of us in this campaign. I'd now like to call upon Ariella and Eddie Weiss.
Thank you for giving me and my husband the opportunity to address all of you tonight. No one ever imagined the world would be like what it is today. UJA has stepped up and is helping everyone in our community. And without UJA, our community would not be the same. UJA is truly the cornerstone of our Jewish community. UJA realized right away that our community is facing the biggest crisis it has ever seen and acted immediately. We are proud to be involved for many years and volunteer yearly to help out. On a personal note, it was the highlight of my volunteer career that I was chair of UJA Women's Philanthropy in 2018. Tzedakah plays a very important role in our home, and helping people in need is one of the most important mitzvot. Now more than ever, we have to give what we can. We all need to give gratitude for what we have and always strive to better ourselves and give to others in need. There is no better feeling than helping. This year, more than ever, our family is proudly supporting UJA's efforts to ensure our community's resilience, and we hope that all of you will join us. Every single dollar can help. Thank you.
Ariel's spoken for the two of us, and she said it much better than I ever could. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariella, and thank you, Eddie, for your continued commitment to our community. I'd now like to call upon Gabi and Ori Mandowsky.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gabi.
And I'm Ori.
We were asked to speak briefly on why we support UJA and volunteer our time with the organization. We thought long and hard and came up with the reason that it's Jewish guilt.
There's that, but also volunteering is probably the most socially acceptable way to get a good break from parenting. So that too.
Just joking, everyone, but I'm going to show you the real reason. And here she is.
So now having a family with 3 young kids really brought into focus for us the importance of Jewish values, and tzedakah is a big part of that. And we realized also that our kids, as they get older and learn about the importance of these values, understand actions much more than they understand words. So for us, that's meant using our time to volunteer. I've recently gotten involved with Jack's Toronto, which is a UJA partner agency.
And I sit on the layperson exec of UJA Genesis, and I focus on helping to develop and promote volunteerism. And now, more than ever, this community that we've determined is so important to us is simply threatened, as many of the speakers tonight have alluded to. So it's on us to double down so that our children can enjoy the same privilege that we've enjoyed being able to grow up in a thriving community like this one.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you very, very much. I'd now like to call upon our final speaker, Mike Diamond.
You know, the situation in which we all find ourselves this year presents a most difficult conundrum. Many of us are feeling the pain, financial and otherwise, of the lockdown, together with a perfectly natural fear of the unknown because of COVID-19. As a result, making the donation we would like to make is going to be more difficult for some of us. But the conundrum is that there has never been a time when the need to give and the value of giving to UJA, to your community, has been greater. We have, altogether, been investing in our Jewish community with our time and our dollars for over 100 years. This is the year when we must invest to protect that which we have built, for our benefit, for our children, and for future generations. It's hard to give in a time of uncertainty, but we must feel that fear and do it anyway. To give to UJA, which is the only Jewish community organization that has the ability, the passion, and the mandate to protect the totality of our community and our investments in our many critical organizations. It's not an accident that we have already received pledges for over $47 million at this early stage of the campaign. People get it. They understand the need and they have responded. From $100 to thousands of dollars or more, it all matters. Each donor matters. This is a time of uncertainty and chaos. That's why we have to circle the wagons and support each other. Please join and give generously for the benefit of you and your families, for the entire Jewish community of Toronto, and for Israel and the entire Jewish people. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mike. And thank you. I really want to thank all the phenomenal individuals and families who have shared their commitment to the emergency campaign with us this evening. Combined with gifts already donated, as Mike has mentioned, we are just over the halfway mark to achieving our $85 million goal this year, thanks to the incredible generosity of nearly 2,000 community members. We're off to a great start, but there's so much more work to do. Let's keep the momentum going. We'll be in touch in the coming days with more details on how you can make your gift and be part of this historic campaign. But if you'd like to make your gift this evening, I encourage you to visit jewishtoronto.com. That's jewishtoronto.com. Or if you'd like to connect with the UJA professional about your gift, please email info@jewishtoronto.com. But before we close tonight, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us and reaffirm that we cannot get through this crisis without you. Your support of our community is more important today than ever before. In closing, I want to reiterate that there are individuals and families on this call that are suffering terribly from this crisis, whether facing health or financial issues or mental health issues. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us because we care and we understand. More importantly, if you need us, we are happy to support you in any way that we can. Please connect with us anytime by phone at 416-621-5676. That's 621-5676, or by emailing Ryla Bramer at rbramer@ujafed.org. And that name and number will be up on the sheet afterwards. This concludes tonight's program. We wish you and your families good health and a good evening. And thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. Take care.